Hello everyone, it's Millie here from Pondus Travel. I'm joined by James from Aurora Expeditions. Thank you very much for attending. We're really excited today to be looking at this brilliant presentation about the polar regions. Something a bit different to show you all than what we normally look at on our webinars, but we like to switch things up every so often. So I hope you are ready and got your cups of tea, and any questions at all that you have, we will be doing a question and answer session at the end. Of course, you're always welcome to contact myself and Claire. We can answer any questions as well, but we will be able to send you a recording of this presentation as well at a later date, so you can look at everything again afterwards. But yes, I'll pass it over to you, James, and you can take it away. Thank you very much.
Well, hello everyone. Thanks very much for joining us today. I say my name is Jay. I'm in a nutshell, I'm a penguin and polar bear nerd. I love all things polar related, and I'm very fortunate to have traveled to both the Arctic and Antarctic. So it's a great pleasure today to share my experiences with you. Now, if you do have any questions, you'll see on your laptop or on your phone, there's a little box where you can type in any questions. So we'll be able to pick those up at the end. Now we're just going to turn our cameras off just to make sure everything runs smoothly. And do bear with us if there's any lag with the slides, as we are broadcasting live, of course. But yeah, let's dive straight in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'd like to start today by introducing you to our founders, Greg Mortimer and his wife, Margaret. Greg is a legendary Australian explorer. He was the first Australian to have summited Mount Everest and K2 without supplementary oxygen back in the 1980s, and he's led over 80 expeditions to the polar regions. Greg and his wife Margaret were deeply inspired by the wildly remote places that they had experienced, and they wanted to share this with the world. As a result, going back some 29 years ago, they set up Aurora Expeditions with the pioneering ethos of wanting to take small groups to the most pristine, untouched destinations on the planet, but doing it in a way that was very responsible and respectful to the environment. Over the decades, we've pioneered numerous firsts in the expedition world, including being the first operator to offer activities such as camping out under the Antarctic night sky, ski mountaineering, sea kayaking, and even polar diving in Antarctica. Our most recent first was back in November last year when we launched our brand new ship, the Greg Mortimer, which was named in honour of our founder. This is the first vessel ever of its kind in the industry, purpose designed by our expedition team. You'll notice that the bow of the ship looks quite different, a bit like the beak of a toucan or the nose of an aircraft, I think. And this streamlined bow design means that rather than riding up and down swells like you would on a traditional ship in choppy seas, we just carve gracefully through the water, like a hot knife through butter. And for you, this means a much more comfortable ride, much faster sailing times through open sea passages, and it's also some 60% more fuel efficient too. We're so proud to have pioneered this futuristic design. The ship is a beautiful vessel, but at Aurora, we're all about getting off her as much as possible, treating the ship like a comfortable base camp for exploration. With our fleet of 15 Zodiac rib boats, you'll be led by our world-class expedition guides on small group excursions to get well and truly off the grid multiple times a day. Our expeditions are spontaneous, and what we do is completely down to the local weather, the wildlife, the sea and ice conditions, and this is what makes our expeditions so special. There is no fixed itinerary, and no two voyages are ever the same, much like the flute patterning of a humpback whale. The opportunities day to day for exploration really are endless, but I wanted to give you a small taste of some of the experiences that you'll get to enjoy. We'll go out on exciting Zodiac cruises and witness ginormous icebergs the size of skyscrapers. Perhaps we'll spot humpback whale breaching up close. We'll go out hiking in the Arctic and observe the beautiful tundra and the botany up close. And we'll have photography workshops both on and off the ship to help you really capture those special moments as they happen. These will be led by our expert guides such as world-renowned wildlife photographers Scott Patelli, Richard Ianson and Peter Eastway. We'll visit remote indigenous communities and see ancient historical sites, or perhaps we may just sit peacefully on a beach and observe gorgeous Gentoo penguins raising their baby chicks. Over the years, we've pioneered many activities in the polar regions, and for an additional charge, we can even offer you the rare opportunity to go ski touring in Antarctica, snowshoeing, polar snorkeling and diving, rock climbing and mountaineering, kayaking peacefully through mirror-like waters, camping out under the Antarctic night sky, and if you're feeling really brave, for absolutely no charge at all, we invite our expeditioners to try a polar plunge, where you can jump off the ship into the bitter Arctic or Antarctic waters. So I wanted to give you a bit of an overview as to where we explore throughout the year. We always spend a season from November through to March down in Antarctica, which is effectively the Antarctic spring and summer. Most of our voyages depart from Ushuaia at the very southern tip of Argentina, and from here we cross the fabled Drake Passage, which can either be known as a Drake Lake or a Drake Shake, and this takes us around 1.5 days before arriving into the magical South Shetland Islands and the Antarctic Peninsula, which we'll then explore in depth. We also have extended trips to include the Falkland Islands and the wildlife mecca of South Georgia, home to hundreds of thousands of king penguins, thousands of macaroni penguin, and thousands of elephant seal. It's like nowhere else on Earth. If you're perhaps a little nervous of sailing, we also offer our Antarctic Explorer itineraries, where we can actually fly you directly from Punta Arenas in Chile to Antarctica to meet the ship, therefore avoiding any days at sea. This is our Spirit of Antarctica itinerary. If you're looking for a real classic bucket list voyage to Antarctica, where you'll get to stand amongst all the incredible penguin colonies, see their gigantic icebergs and sculptures up close, and spot leopard seal and humpback whale, this is the perfect adventure. Now, it's worth noting we have multiple departures through the Antarctic spring and summer months, and our 12-day voyages have an extra 1.5 days longer down in Antarctica compared with many other operators, giving you more chance to get out into the incredible icy world. And I wanted to share you some of my own photos today, just to give you a sense of the sort of things you'll see. We'll have lots of opportunity to set foot on the 7th continent and hike up to incredible viewing points. The sense of scale is always mind-blowing. You can just about make out our previous vessel in the bay there. It looks like a tiny black rock amongst the scale of Nico Harbour. As we relocate the ship between various landing locations, we get these amazing panoramas out on deck. And as far as the eye can see, the ice twinkles like glitter. Watching the ship carve through the ice and push small icebergs out of the way with the bow thrusters was certainly one of some of my favourite moments down in Antarctica. On this day, we also saw lots of beautiful lenticular cloud formations coming over the mountain peaks, which I think look a bit like flying saucers. You'll see thousands and thousands of penguins. I was very fortunate to have a snowy day in Antarctica, and it was like sitting in a snow globe watching the gentoos go about their daily chores. And these are the cheeky Adelie penguins, which are some of my favorites. They're the smallest species of penguin on the Antarctic Peninsula, but they certainly make up for it in attitude. They're very comical, and if you look closely on the left there, you can just see a baby chick being fed by the mother. These are chinstrap penguins, named as they look like they're wearing little hats. I think these look like the mafia of the Antarctic penguin world. They've quite a gangstery look about them, I think. On our voyages, we'll visit ancient historic sites and research huts. This was a photo that I took of Demoy Hut. It's used as a British summer air facility to transit scientists to research bases around the Antarctic Peninsula back in the 1970s. And it's amazing stepping inside these huts and seeing everything left untouched for 50 years or more. You'll find old birds' custard tins and bottle jars on the shelves in the pantry. Sleeping bags are left on the bunk beds, and it's quite an experience standing in those footsteps of the scientists and old explorers. There's lots of opportunity for spotting weddell, crab eater, and fur seal. This is the first lazy seal I spotted, basking in the sun. He was having a good scratch of his belly at the time. Now, humpback whales head to Antarctica for a good krill feast, and they can be quite acrobatic, particularly after feeding. I was very fortunate to see this breach whilst I was out on one of our many Zodiac excursions. Early and late season, you'll experience these breathtaking sunsets. This is a picture I took out on deck the evening that we arrived into Antarctica, and it really was magical. Just seeing all those glaciers and mountains turn pink and the icebergs turn the most incredible purple and blue colors. It really is like nothing else. For the ultimate Antarctic adventure, if you have the time, South Georgia is an absolute must. Our voyages are between 21 and 25 days in length, and they'll include South Georgia, the Falklands, and the Antarctic Peninsula, all in one ultimate expedition. So why South Georgia? Well, in a nutshell, during the height of the breeding season, South Georgia is home to the highest concentration of wildlife on the planet. It's like nowhere else on Earth. And the landscapes are equally as legendary. Glaciers tumble from every direction, the snowy peaks make for stunning contrast against the tussock grasses and the pebbly bays. And South Georgia is rich in polar history, of course. It served as the final stage in one of the greatest survival stories of all time, Ernest Shackleton's Endurance Expedition. In South Georgia, we visit his gravesite and we'll certainly raise a toast to his heroic legacy. And for the more adventurous of you, we can even offer the opportunity to go on a mountaineering tour, retracing Shackleton's crossing of South Georgia over a period of 3 days on foot or by ski, which is another activity that we've pioneered. But the sheer number of wildlife found in South Georgia is truly staggering. It's home to 2 million fur seal and 50% of the world's population of elephant seal. And you might be lucky and see these beach masters, each weighing 2,500 kilos, fighting for their harem in the spring. There are over 30 million breeding birds in South Georgia, with up to 250,000 of albatross and millions of penguins, including macaroni, gentoo, and king penguins. For many, it's the king penguins which really steal the show. Standing in St. Andrews Bay or Salisbury Plain, you'll stand amongst 250,000 of these beautiful birds. Now, you don't see these guys down in the Antarctic Peninsula, so for many, it's one of the big draws for coming to South Georgia. Unlike the fixed annual cycle of other penguins, the kings have a biennial 14 to 16-month breeding pattern. So whenever you visit South Georgia, you'll always find these kiwi fruit-looking chicks and fully grown adults with their beautiful yellow plumage. And I love this picture. I think this gives you a real sense of scale and the abundance of wildlife when we talk about South Georgia. And I have to say, that's my idea of a crowded beach. It's just amazing, isn't it? Following the Antarctic season, we then head to the Northern Hemisphere, exploring the Arctic from May through to September to see incredible destinations such as Greenland, Iceland, and the Norwegian archipelago of Svalbard. I thought we'd have a look at Svalbard first of all. Now, these islands lie just 650 miles from the geographic North Pole, and they offer all the classic Arctic tick boxes and wildlife spotting opportunities on one voyage. In the far north, areas like Moffin Island are known for walrus haulouts, and we hope to spot Arctic fox, reindeer, and seals. There are incredible bird cliffs at Alkivellet, which is just around the north there. It's home to tens of thousands of brunette guillemots and puffins. We aim to circumnavigate these islands, ice conditions allowing, of course, keeping watch for Svalbard's star predator, which is, of course, the fearsome polar bear. And with a bit of luck, we can find them hunting out on the pack ice. Now, as we go in the summertime, we have 24 hours of daylight in Svalbard, so we'll be sure to wake you up if we spot something at 3 in the morning. This is very typical of the scenery in Svalbard. You have these huge glacier fronts that we explore from our zodiacs. And here are our walrus friends that I mentioned, some of my favorite Arctic marine mammals. And these are the bird cliffs at Alkivellet. You can just about make out some of the brunette guillemots nesting there. There are tens of thousands of them at the height of the breeding season. One of the new voyages I wanted to show you today is our amazing 17-day Greenland Odyssey expedition, and exploring this incredible country in more depth than we've ever done before. For this voyage, we'll start in Iceland, and we include a tour to see the magnificent Golden Circle, where you'll see the Gilfoss waterfall, spectacular geysers, and the tectonic fissures, which Iceland is so famous for, before heading onwards to the east coast of Greenland. And we'll get the Zodiacs out to explore stunning mountain landscapes and hopefully spot whales. The Watkins mountain range dominates the horizon in East Greenland, and these are the highest mountains in all the Arctic. As we loop around the south of Greenland up to the northwest, there are many highlights, including the exploration of Prince Christian Sound and Tasemiet Fjord, which is known as the Patagonia of the North. We'll visit the National Museum in the capital of Nuuk, where you might find 500-year-old mummies which were perfectly preserved in the permafrost, before we push onwards to the World UNESCO Heritage Site of Ilulissat, which is an absolute paradise for gigantic icebergs. Throughout the voyage, we'll discover remote Inuit communities and see firsthand how they survive in the harshest wildernesses on Earth, where hunting, utilizing dogs and sledges, is still very much a way of life. And as you walk through the towns, you'll see things like polar bear skins and seal skins being left out to dry, and it's hard for us not to make judgment, but this is very much a way of life, and it's been like that for hundreds of years in these remote communities. Here's a picture I took in Parmute, which is one of the remote settlements we'll visit on this expedition, and here I actually got ambushed by a very smiley Greenlandic child who just decided that he wanted a piggyback ride, so I thought it was a great opportunity for a cheeky selfie. But for me, what makes Greenland so spectacular is the sheer scale of the landscapes. There are glaciers oozing from every direction and icebergs the size of cathedrals peacefully drifting by. And to give you a sense of scale, I took this photo from a ridge that we hiked to. If you look carefully, you can see little dots on the rock on the left, and these are actually people. And it's even more magnificent when you think that 1/8 of an iceberg is showing above the water. So these things must be at least a kilometre in height or more. And here's one of my other favourite bergs that we encountered on the Zodiac cruise. The arch is so tall that you could easily sail the ship right under it. Probably was about 30 stories high. Absolutely incredible. This particular voyage actually comes to a grand conclusion in Ilulissat, which is in the west of Greenland, and that's home to the Jakobshavn Glacier, which is the most productive glacier in the northern hemisphere. It moves around 20 to 40 meters a day, and it creates billions of tons of icebergs each year, just like the iceberg you can see on your screen there. We're going to have the option to take a helicopter tour to see this mammoth spectacle from the skies, and I couldn't think of a more epic climax to this very special voyage. Next, I wanted to introduce you to some of the amazing itineraries that we have in the Russian Far East, which we can't wait to go out and explore again in summer 2022. The Kamchatka Peninsula is located at the wildly remote far eastern edge of Russia. It's pretty similar in size to the UK. Now, tourists and even Russians themselves were only able to come here from the early 1990s, following the end of the Cold War. We're exploring this wild region on 2 fantastic voyages in July and August 2022, with charter flights included. Now, Kamchatka is located in the Pacific Ring of Fire, and it's home to over 300 volcanoes, of which 29 are still active. And the volcanoes are listed actually as a World UNESCO Heritage Site, and they're some of the most visually spectacular you'll find anywhere on Earth, with the tallest reaching over 15,000 feet in height. But Kamchatka is really a dream for nature lovers. It's home to an astonishing 10,000 brown bear, which is one of the highest densities on the planet. Thanks to the abundance of salmon inhabiting the waters and river systems here, they're the most well-fed bears on Earth, although they do occasionally have to compete for lunch from time to time with the Steller sea eagle, which soar menacingly overhead. On this itinerary, we'll be launching the Zodiacs to explore the Commander Islands, which is nicknamed the South Georgia of the Pacific Ocean. Over 200 species of birds have been recorded here, and we hope to spot red-faced cormorants, whiskered auklets, albatross, and these very comical tufted puffins. I have to say, I do love their peroxide blonde hairdos. Tens of thousands of fur seal hang out in this region, and throughout the voyage we'll hope to see sea lions and sea otters, and we'll always be keeping watch for the giants of the ocean, including orca, blue, fin, and humpback whale. We love all things cultural here at Aurora, and we hope to visit the remote village of Timlat, where the indigenous Kayak people will welcome us with celebratory song and dance on arrival. And these are such privilege and such special interactions. Continuing our theme in the Russian Far East, high above the Arctic Circle north of Kamchatka, on the roof of the world lies the wildlife mecca of Wrangel Island. It has to be one of the least explored wildernesses on Earth, and we have a very rare opportunity and special permission to explore here on 2 departures going in July 2022. Now, as we set foot ashore and go for hikes in the tundra, we step back in time by many thousands of years to experience a world that's been completely untouched by glaciation and is completely frozen in time. And this means today that we can find perfectly preserved fossilized remains of woolly mammoths. It was actually thought that Wrangel was one of the last places that the mammoth roamed. But the big draw here for most would have to be the wildlife. Wrangel Island Nature Reserve is home to an abundance that's truly off the scale. And if you want to see the king of all the Arctic predators, the polar bear, this is the place to be. Wrangel Island is often called a polar bear maternity ward. There's about 400 mothers that give birth here each year, so we hope to have multiple polar bear encounters. We'll keep watch for muskox, Arctic fox, and reindeer, and another giant of the Arctic marine world, the Pacific walrus. Each weighing up to 2 tons, it's been known for a staggering 100,000 of these walrus to hang out on the beaches here, and you might have seen this on some of those David Attenborough documentaries. And it's quite a sight and smell to behold. Bird enthusiasts will also love Wrangel Island, with over 100 migratory bird species frequently spotted here, including snowy owls, snow geese, and long-tailed skuas. On this voyage, we'll have time to explore the Chukotka coast as well, where perhaps we'll see beluga, grey, and humpback whale feeding, and we'll experience a taste of traditional Chukchi life before returning to Alaska on our included charter flight. In summer 2022, we'll be getting far away from the world of those gigantic cruise ships and getting really intimate with this epic wilderness. Our past guests have been wanting for us to return to Alaska for many years, so it's with great pleasure to announce today that we have 4 different voyages running through summer 2022. And I just wanted to pick one of these to show you today. This is our Alaskan Odyssey voyage, which starts in Vancouver and heads up to Seward through the Inside Passage. We'll get to meet First Nation Metlakatlan Indian community on Annette Island and see their intricate carvings, canoe building skills, and huge totem poles. We'll get deep into the Misty and Tracy Arm fjord systems and see incredible glaciers up close in our zodiacs and keep watch for wildlife, of course. There'll be lots of opportunity to hike amongst the beautiful mountainous valleys, admiring stunning waterfalls and temperate rainforest. And you might have noticed there on the slide that we even have opportunity to go snorkeling and diving on these adventures. Admittedly, it might sound a bit chilly, but of course we provide all the gear to keep you safe and warm. And you can expect to see huge colourful anemones, seals, fish, crabs, and with luck, even the giant Pacific octopus. I wanted to show you a couple of pictures just to give you a feel for the kind of scenery that we'll find on this adventure. This is Misty Fjords National Monument, which is known as the Yosemite of the North, surrounded by huge 3,000-foot cliffs and glaciated valleys. It's a great spot for observing wildlife, and we'll be keeping watch for many species of seabird, as well as the famous grizzly and black bear. One of the highlights of this expedition is that we get to spend 2 days in the vast Prince William Sound, which is home to more tidewater glaciers than anywhere else on Earth. And with a bit of luck from the zodiacs and kayaks, we'll hopefully get to witness some spectacular glacial carving here. And this is Kayak Island. It's a very remote and uninhabited area of Alaska. It's famous for being the location of where the first European explorer and naturalist George Steller set foot on Alaska back in the mid-1700s, and he was a real pioneer of Alaskan natural history. And even today, very few people actually get to set foot ashore here. It's a very wild environment, and it's exposed to all of the elements, which is just the kind of place that gets us really excited. And just to note a few of the wildlife highlights that we hope to see along the way. We hope to spot humpback whales, bubble net feeding. We might see adorable sea otters lazily drifting by. We'll see the classic symbol of the US, the bold-headed eagle. Coastal brown bears enjoying, of course, the salmon lunch. And Stella's sea lion, which is named in honor of George Stella, who we just mentioned there. And if we're lucky, we might even get to see orca spy hopping as well. Now, voyages really don't get any more epic and rich in polar history than in the Northwest Passage. For hundreds of years, this region captivated all the great explorers, such as Franklin and Amundsen, desperate to find this route that would allow ships to sail from Europe to East Asia on a much shorter path. But it's an extreme labyrinth of continually moving pack ice, and it wasn't actually until 1906 that finally Roald Amundsen cracked it. We've got 2 expeditions operating in the very short window that these voyages can take place due to the sea ice in August and September 2022. So we have both a west and a reversed eastbound itinerary and include charter flights for you so that you can get to this region really nice and easily. Now I'm going to focus on the westbound option today. And on this voyage, we start our exploration in West Greenland and push through vast fjord systems towards the UNESCO heritage site of Ilulissat in Disco Bay, which is one of the areas we touched upon earlier. That's where we have the monster glacier that's carving icebergs up to 1 kilometer in height. En route to the Northwest Passage, we'll enjoy amazing views of the huge rock slabs of Baffin Island, and we'll keep watch for various whale species as well as ring and harp seal. At 75 degrees north, we'll get out hiking on Devon Island in the high Arctic, which is the world's largest uninhabited island. And here we'll learn about its geology that's fascinated scientists for decades and continues to this day. It's a desert setting, and the harsh climate is very similar to conditions found on Mars. So from time to time, there's often astronauts doing lots of training up there. Conditions allowing, we're going to hope to spot ancient Thule remains here, and perhaps we'll see Walrus haulouts in Dundas Harbour. And as we enter the Northwest Passage, we enter the rich waters of Lancaster Sound, which is known as a wildlife superhighway. This region has the second highest density of polar bear population on the planet. So with the long daylight hours to play with, we hope to spot these awesome predators scouring the shore for prey. At Cunningham Inlet, we might spot the playful beluga whale. About 2,000 of these come to the shallow waters every year to raise their young and also to shed their skin in their annual molt. So it's one of the very few places on Earth that you might see them in such abundance with a little bit of luck. And if you love birds, you'll certainly be in your element as we'll explore vast cliffs home to up to 400,000 nesting migratory birds in Prince Leopold Island. And occasionally polar bear can be found in this region looking for, unfortunately, an unsuspecting bird to snack on. And close to Leopold Island, we hope to make a landing at infamous Beechey Island, which is home to the graves of some of Franklin's men. And it's one of the many historical highlights on this fabled expedition. And I think this picture really captures the magic of the Northwest Passage. We may get very, very lucky and spot the beautiful narwhal who migrate through the channels here. And as we head onwards to our final destination, Cambridge Bay, we'll get our zodiacs out multiple times a day to really unlock the secrets of the Northwest Passage. There are so many unknowns to this voyage, and that for me makes this such a special and exciting itinerary. And if that wasn't enough, on the eastbound itinerary, there's a good chance of spotting the Northern Lights as well. So this really is an expedition of the highest caliber, and I have to say, roll on summer 2022. I wanted to also quickly mention that we also explore remote warmer climates too, including the paradise marine mecca of Raja Ampat in eastern Indonesia, which was really only discovered about 30 years ago, and it just looks like an absolute dream. And we also head to Baja California and the Sea of Cortez in Mexico. And these options really offer the opportunity to see pristine coral reef systems with incredible marine biodiversity, unlike anywhere else on the planet. Now, we've recently launched our Arctic and Global 2022 program, so that's all of those wonderful itineraries we touched on there, such as Alaska, the Russian Far East, and the Northwest Passage. For launch of these itineraries, we're offering up to an amazing 20% off at present for early booking. And it's worth knowing that at Aurora, we always offer our best pricing at launch only, as our discounts are strictly capacity controlled. So we're not one of those companies that slash our prices at the last minute. And that's really important to us. You know, we're a small family operator, so you can plan your voyage in full confidence that you're going to be getting the very best market offer at this stage. Our ships are small, on average with just 132 capacity, and we operate in a global market, so we tend to sell out around 18 months or more ahead of departure. And in fact, we're already 70% sold out for the eastbound 2022 Northwest Passage itinerary that we just looked at. In light of the current climate, we've also launched our industry-leading Booking with Peace of Mind policy, which you can see on our aurorexpeditions.co.uk website, which gives you lots of flexibility. And any payments made to us through ponders are certainly 100% secure through our deposit protection program. All funds are placed in a separate trust account for your financial security. And of course, we've got a huge health and safety protocol put in place, ready for when we're able to resume operations. So it's a wonderful time to be planning your next adventure for 2022 with us and to have something really special to look forward to. As we bring today's presentation to a gentle close, I just wanted to give you a little sneak peek of our wonderful home from home, our ship, the Greg Mortimer, for you. There are panoramic observation decks all over the ship with unobstructed views, including these special hydraulic platforms which pop out from the bow of Greg Mortimer, and we have these amazing panoramas. We have 4 sea-level Zodiac launch platforms, so 2 on both sides of the ship. This means we can get into the Zodiacs very quickly and safely. There's no having to walk down any difficult gangways, so we don't miss out on those spontaneous events such as humpback whale breaching. To the rear of the ship, there's a specially designed activity pontoon where we can safely launch our diving and kayak programs. And this is the first of its kind in the industry, and it's again one of the many things that we've pioneered. And I want to give you a glimpse of the inside of the ship. So here is our very relaxing polar library, which is chock full of wonderful treasures and journals for you to read, all related to the regions that we're exploring. And it also houses our high-tech media center where you can sit and edit and share your photos. The Polar Library is a very calm space, and I think this gives you a real feel for the overall decor scheme of the entire ship. This is our lecture theatre where our incredible expedition team will talk about their specific areas of expertise and really bring a deeper understanding of the world outside, from marine biology to glaciology, polar history, ornithology, and we'll have photography workshops as well. And for me, it's our expedition team that make us really so special. Many of our guides have been part of our team for decades, and their knowledge of the environments we explore is truly invaluable, and that's what allows us to really push the boundaries of exploration. True to our Australian roots, the expedition team are all very warm and approachable on board. They'll always join you in the bar and sit with you at dinner, and they're always on hand to answer questions. So we're very popular with both groups and solo travelers alike. We're all very much one big family on board. We're very relaxed. There's no having to dress up for dinner with us or any of that stuff. It's very chilled and comfortable. And following a day's exploration and a cheeky nightcap, you'll want to retire to one of our lovely cabins on board, most of which have balconies. And after a good night's sleep, you'll be raring to go for an inspiring day of new adventures. And it's worth again highlighting that soft and neutral decor scheme, as we don't want to detract from anything from the environments that we're in. And so phenomenally successful was the launch of Greg Mortimer last Antarctic season that we do now have our second ship on the way, which is all on schedule for launch in September next year. The vessel is called the Sylvia Rule, and it's named in honor of the world-famous oceanographer and explorer. And we're working in partnership with Dr. Sylvia Rule in the development of her namesake. The ship will be very similar to the Greg Mortimer. You know, they are sister ships, but with a couple of slight differences. On the interior, here is a first look at our incredible new science centre, which is located right in the bow of the ship. Here you can join our expedition guides to get a deeper understanding of the environments that we're exploring. And there'll be opportunity to join us with real-world research and participate in our citizen science program. This is a wonderful chance to give a little something back to the world, and the research is invaluable for the future preservation and protection of the pristine and fragile environments that we're exploring. And here is another visual of the Science Centre and Lounge, which leads upstairs to the Polar Library, which I think looks really spectacular. The ship will have loads of unobstructed panoramic observation space, and at the rear of the vessel, you'll find another really neat feature, which is just for this ship only. We'll have a heated infinity swimming pool. Now, the pool will be kept warm by the residual engine heat of the ship, which is very much in keeping with our commitment to responsible travel. And you can also see the sunbeds there too, which we'll certainly be getting out in the warmer destinations that we explore, such as Costa Rica, Baja California, and Raja Ampat. So I hope that's whet your appetite for our exciting future at Aurora. And I thought it'd be fitting to finish our session today by showing you a picture of Dr. Sylvia Earle in action from 1979, where she held the record of the deepest untethered dive right down to 1,250 feet. And that record, I think, was only broken about 8 years ago. Sylvia was named Time magazine's first ever hero of the planet back in 1998. And I'd highly recommend, if you get time, to watch a documentary called Mission Blue, which is available on Netflix. And you'll get to learn more about her incredible conservation work. She's truly an inspiration to all of us in the future preservation and protection of this wonderful planet. So thank you, everyone. I hope that's given you a little bit of inspiration and escapism there. And we're just going to turn our cameras on and just see if we've had any questions.
Yes, well, thank you so much, Jay. That was incredible. Your photos from the Antarctic exploration was amazing. I can't believe how those clear shots were. While we've been listening to your talk, I've had a couple of questions come through on email, so I thought we would just discuss quickly. I've had Sylvia asking how cold it gets in the polar regions.
Say that again, sorry, how? I couldn't quite hear you.
How cold does it get in the polar regions?
Yeah, sure. Well, we only operate these voyages in the spring and summer of the respective seasons. We wouldn't want to go to Antarctica in the winter because that would be extreme for sure. I'd say from my own experience, Antarctica probably went down cold as maybe -5, and on some days even up to +10 degrees. We do provide expedition jackets and mid layers, which you get to keep after the voyage, and they'll certainly keep you nice and warm. But the key really is layering. The sun, when it's bouncing off the glaciers, it can be really intense. So you'll definitely need your factor 50 sunscreen on. I did actually come back with a bit of color on my skin. And the first time I set foot on Antarctica, I was actually in a t-shirt. So it gives you a sense that it can be quite warm. That being said, you know, you can literally have 4 seasons in an hour, and you get what are called katabatic winds, which blow off the glaciers. So it can get quite nippy quickly, but layering is key, and you'll certainly be kept snug and warm.
Brilliant. And the last question that we've had is, when will Antarctica's 2023 prices be released?
That's a great question. We're just in the process of finalising those itineraries at the moment, but we hope to launch in January next year, so just over a month's time. And again, that's where we'll have our best pricing there on launch, with I believe up to 25% off, which is very exciting. So yeah, lots of exciting plans, and yeah, and I would say that it's worth reaching out to us if you are interested, and we'll let you know as soon as the brochures are out, and we can send you copies.
Fabulous. So thank you again, Jay. That was fascinating. I always love doing these talks because I learn so much myself. As I said before, if anyone has any questions, any inquiries, wants to know any more about any of the itineraries, then get in touch with myself or Claire. The number, I'll make sure to email you all in the next couple of days with details of how to contact us with some more information. But again, thank you so much, Joe. That was really, really interesting. And hopefully everyone will catch you at another one of our events in not too long.
Yeah, thank you everybody for joining us, and wishing all a Merry Christmas from all of us at Aurora. Take care, everybody. Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.